village in panic. The story you're about to hear is true, and it happened right here in Thailand. Many decades ago, when the forests of Lopburi province were degraded, it was designated as a self-help settlement. Anyone who wanted land for farming could contact the government agency in charge. Each family would receive 25 rai of land. They could farm, cultivate, or orchard as they pleased. At that time, many people from all over flocked to apply. Most were successful and acquired land. A few who came too late were disappointed and had to return home. The land plots were chosen by the residents themselves. The government didn't allocate specific areas. The only exception was if several families with relatives came together, in which case they could receive a contiguous plot of land, hundreds of rai. Besides that, the surrounding villagers are from all walks of life, coming from different regions, not all from the same part of the country. Their accents don't blend together. For example, people from the north speak slowly, sounding gentle, while those from the northeast, even when speaking normally, sound like they're shouting. And if they ask a question and answer, it might be misunderstood as sarcasm or provocation. Occasionally, they'll resort to forceful means to stop a fight, resulting in fatalities in the middle of the forest before the land has even been cleared. Those who survive become ruthless murderers, wanted by the law. He's from Phak Hai, Ayutthaya province, over 60 years old but still as strong as a young man. His family owns dozens of acres of orchards and farmlands, but he has many relatives and there aren't enough for them to farm. He's a kind-hearted person. The gangster willingly sacrificed his inherited land, letting his siblings and grandchildren farm it. He himself packed his clothes, stuffed them into a mat bag, and went to mine for gold on new land in the Lopburi self-sufficient settlement, despite widespread rumors of criminals fleeing the law there. This was because the self-sufficient settlement was full of gamblers from all over the world, leading to several influential groups helping the notorious bandits to cover up the police's hiding places. In that era, there were tens of thousands of notorious bandits with bounties on their heads, such as Suea Bai and Suea Khao, among others. Uncle Pleuang knew all this, but he still believed. He claimed to be a real tough guy, fearless of anyone, and dared to seize the land for farming. Uncle Pleuang's land was adjacent to that of a middle-aged man in his early 30s named Phuean. Phuean was from another region, known for his unruly and mischievous nature. He spoke sharply to older men with gray hair, hoping to gain their submission. That afternoon, Uncle Pleuang was using a saw to cut wood into planks for building his shelter, sipping liquor to relieve his fatigue. Phuean strode in and asked, "Uncle, you're about to die, and you're still cutting trees to build a hut. I'm afraid you'll die later. How can you hasten your death?" Uncle Pleuang replied, "Oh, Phuean, you're exaggerating. I'm just working at my own pace, resting when I'm tired. Don't curse me." Phuean responded, "But it looks like you're encroaching a lot on my land." "Oh, you think I'm stupid? I'm not some idiot?" "Oh, it's just clearing the land to make it level. Where else would I be encroaching? If it were building a fence or planting vegetables on your land, that would be different. Consider it my help clearing the weeds, okay? Don't think anything beyond that." "Hey, I can't help but think that. I'm a grown man, and you dared to encroach on my land to clear some farmland. That's clearly intentional dishonesty. If you don't apologize right now, you'll be in big trouble." Wow, playing with a troublemaker is tough. How dare you use your youth to bully an old man? "Hey, old and still got a sharp tongue. Listen to what this guy is saying. He's slandering me to my face. You don't need teeth to chew rice, you old filthy-mouthed fool." The thug, acting like a savage in front of a large group of villagers passing by, lunged at Uncle Pleuang, attacking him before he could react. Uncle Pleuang was kicked and sent flying, doubled over in pain. Even an old man couldn't withstand the young man's strength. They fought for a while, both falling to the ground several times. Finally, he landed near a knife, utterly humiliated and heartbroken at being insulted in front of the village headman. He instinctively grabbed the knife and slashed with all his might, severing the young man's right leg. Fresh blood spurted out like a fountain, staining the recently cleared ground. "Ow! "You old man, you did this to me," cried Nai Phuean. He cried out in shock, before he could even feel the pain from the sudden knife wound. He used his hand to support his dangling leg and hopped away on one leg, fleeing back to his lodging. Uncle Pleuang stood stunned in front of the villagers who had witnessed the incident. Regaining his composure, he shouted loudly, "I did it in self-defense, brothers and sisters. I happened to fall near the knife, so I grabbed it and slashed the shin that Mr. Phuean had kicked me in. If Mr. Phuean is hurt, you all can be witnesses." "Yes, you're right, uncle. Even an old man falls and gets kicked again. Serves him right that he got slashed." Many voices sided with Uncle Pleuang, but some said he went too far. Why use a knife to retaliate with all his might just because he was kicked? When that group of villagers dispersed, Uncle Pleuang lay with his feet covering his forehead, afraid of being arrested by the police. He was also worried that if Mr. Phuean survived, he would surely find people to get revenge. Uncle Pleuang had settled down and made a living on this land, not knowing where to flee. This feud with his neighbors was causing him great distress. From his hut, he could clearly see the roof of Mr. Phuean's house, but he didn't know how to resolve the situation amicably. Well, they clearly started it, he thought. We were just defending ourselves, and I was scared. I'm going to get revenge. Who is this person? Where did they come from? How am I going to solve this problem? I'd better run back home, harvest some vegetables, and listen to the news for a while. Saying that, he left his hut before dawn, before the rooster crowed, without packing anything to clutter his belongings, and disappeared from the self-sufficient settlement. A man from a rural northeastern Thai village, now isolated and farming alone, hadn't even had time to let anyone know. Known for his rough and unruly nature, he was a troublemaker in the settlement, trying to establish himself as a gang leader, facing consequences for anyone who didn't bow down. Initially, he almost had subordinates come to live with him. Then, he was seriously injured and confined to his home, with no one to care for him or offer support. He could only focus on treating his own severe wounds. The longer he bandaged, the more inflamed and infected his leg bones refused to heal, becoming swollen, festering, and filled with pus. He haphazardly treated himself with painkillers and anti-inflammatory drugs until he succumbed to his injuries, leaving behind a charred wreck. The corpse rotted. Maggots roamed in the house. Nobody cared or paid attention to it. It died a painful death. The villagers, who lived in the same alley and farmed together, only found out when Mr. Phuean's body had already decomposed. The stench of his decay spread far and wide. Unable to bear the smell any longer, the villagers went into the abandoned house and saw Mr. Phuean's rotting corpse, crawling with maggots, a terrifying and disgusting sight. Fortunately, a monk had established a monastery in the self-sufficient settlement, complete with a cemetery and an undertaker to care for the corpses. This was because, in the settlement, almost every day, if someone had a good harvest and sold their produce quickly, it was almost certain that robbers would rob them and kill the owner to avoid identification. There were very few police officers at that time, unlike in previous settlements. The bandit gang, consisting of 10 men, would never dare provoke a tiger or attack their hideout unless police from the central authority came to their aid. The deaths of villagers were therefore insignificant, like the death of an ant. The abbot, out of compassion, allowed the undertaker to bury the body in the cemetery, awaiting the deceased's relatives to claim the body and perform religious ceremonies elsewhere. This was because the monastery only had one abbot and one undertaker. Getting Mr. Phuean's body into the coffin for burial was extremely difficult, as he was a lone wolf and had to beg and plead with the villagers repeatedly to help carry the body to the cemetery. This is because 2 or 3 nights after dying a violent death, a terrifying ghost haunted the settlement. Normally, the self-sufficient residents of Lopburi were afraid of robbers. No matter where they went, they would rush home before sunset. But after Mr. Phuean died a violent death, something as frightening as robbery began to happen every night. Any resident who sat sipping liquor under a star gooseberry tree, which people often planted in front of their houses, for its supposed charm and popularity, would be ignored by robbers. They knew, the thieves knew, they were busy pounding rice to fill their pots. But after the ghost started roaming, it began terrorizing every household. It would appear as shadowy figures, lurking in front of the bamboo fences, threatening to kill anyone. He was as tall as my waist and asked, "Has anyone seen Uncle Pleuang? Where is he now? Do you know? We live in different alleys. I could barely recognize his face." Most Thais, after building and fencing their houses, hold a housewarming ceremony, inviting the spirits of the land to protect them. A strange, dark, and eerie figure, unable to enter the house but clearly visible, appeared. Those drinking heavily at a bar on a raised platform saw a bright green light emanating from the mysterious figure, clearly a decaying corpse. It was seen raising a severed leg and hurling it down onto the platform, sending cups, plates, and fruits flying. The drinkers scattered, fleeing into the house in panic. The decaying leg, maggots hopping after the dark figure, inevitably became a ghost haunting the area. Uncle Pleuang, however, hopped nimbly on one leg, as if he had two legs. Some drunkards, feeling brave, stopped to have a drink with friends in the village because drinking alone was lonely, and they didn't really believe the rumors circulating. Staggering drunkenly back home, they heard thumping sounds behind them, like someone hammering a pile driver. Curious, they glanced back and instantly sobered up. They fled as fast as they could, running for their lives. By the time they reached home and locked the door, they were exhausted and breathless. The malevolent spirit terrorized the area for nearly a month until someone found its decaying corpse, infested with maggots, in the undertaker's house. The body was buried in the cemetery, but the spirit continued to terrorize the villagers, relentlessly pursuing and attempting to kill Uncle Pleuang, a rogue ghost with no sense of right or wrong. Even the most fearsome bandits, who used to get drunk and strut around singing and dancing arrogantly in groups, were terrified when they encountered the lone, one-legged ghost a few times. They retreated quietly into their bandit camp, no longer daring to show off their power. As for the newly settled villagers, who had just cleared and leveled the land and hadn't yet built their houses, they were forced to settle in temporary bamboo huts, without any guardian spirits to protect them. Some people are in a group, drinking alcohol in front of a hut. A vengeful ghost will appear in the form of an ordinary person, sit around the campfire, and drink with them. Before they know it, the ghost will pull off a severed leg and throw it at the drunkards, using it as snacks. This causes the drinking group to scatter, fleeing for refuge in a Buddhist temple, seeking the monks' help before dying of shock from the ghostly haunting. As fear gripped the self-made settlement for too long, the villagers were unable to work, suffering from sleepless nights and constant fear of ghosts. They were drowsy and unable to work in the scorching sun. So, the elders gathered to pay their respects to the abbot, asking for his help in alleviating their suffering. "We can't take it anymore, abbot. The ghost torments us almost every night. It's looking for someone, I don't know who, Uncle Pleuang. When we deny knowing him, it haunts us in various ways, terrifying us all," one villager said. The abbot replied, "Yes, I've heard similar rumors. When it was alive, it once attacked an old man named Uncle Pleuang, but it lost the fight and its leg was severed. He was weak, couldn't withstand the poison and wounds, and then he died, right? That's what I saw, Father. This Uncle Pleuang has been hiding elsewhere for many months now. Ah, this hatred. Once it arises in someone, it will hold a grudge without end, both for people and spirits. If you don't know how to forgive, you'll suffer like this. All right, I'll take care of this matter for you all. Everyone, go home now." "Yes, Father." In those days, the monastic institution was a complete refuge for Thai people. If someone couldn't read or write, the monks would compassionately teach them. Those with disabilities, or who couldn't make ends meet, could rely on the monks' leftover food. Anyone with insurmountable life problems could seek advice from the monks, who would use lay Buddhist principles to help solve their issues. Even matters of ghostly hauntings required the help of monks, but they had to be powerful, practicing meditation and spiritual disciplines demonstrably, not just ordinary monks focused on development. One night, when Luang Po, the abbot, was performing a ritual to subdue the hauntings in the cemetery, he asked for the help of 3 to 4 strong lay people to dig up the coffin from the grave. Before this, he had received offerings from the villagers. Then, offer prayers and dedicate merit to the vengeful spirits 2 or 3 times. The power of merit brings coolness. When the spirits in the cemetery humbly accept the result of the merit, their burning hearts, consumed by the fire of vengeance, cool down, like pouring boiling water from a kettle into a river. In just a few moments, the scorching water cools completely. When the corpses are exhumed and the ritual to send the souls to rebirth is performed according to their karmic cycle, the vengeful spirits become calm and still, no longer raging, transforming into a ball of fire the size of a fist, floating away into the darkness of the graveyard. The corpses in the coffins are then buried as before. Ah, finally, all suffering and distress are over, my dear. He has gone to the afterlife, according to his karma. There's no need to fear that he will come back to scare or frighten anyone anymore. He won't come back, I assure you. Wow, when they opened the coffin lid, I almost stopped dancing, seeing the body lying there with eyes wide open. Ah, so he finally went his own way. The villagers can finally sleep peacefully, Father. Through the spiritual influence of the abbot of the hermitage, the villagers in the settlement developed even greater faith. They invested their time and effort to build permanent structures such as a temple, a vihara, and a school hall. Not long afterward, this hermitage was elevated to the status of a temple, the official temple of the self-sufficient settlement of Lopburi. Many monks and novices resided there, but they still had to contend with bandits who lacked any understanding of right and wrong for quite some time. Aside from the story of Uncle Pleuang and the ghost of Mr. Phuean, as for Uncle Pleuang himself, after disappearing from the village for almost half a year, with no news of the police searching for him, and with the ghost haunting gone, he returned to take care of his 25 ray of land. He prepared the land to be used for corn farming, which the government encouraged. Once he had settled down sufficiently, his descendants who heard the news came to live with him, and they remain there to this day. As for Uncle Pleuang himself, he was old and frail, and he passed away a long time ago. Thank you for listening to Thai Local Tales. I'm Captain Piroj. Until our next journey together, take care, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next episode.